Well, good morning, everyone. How are you all doing today? Great. Wonderful. It's such a pleasure and honor being up here, standing in front of you, and kind of somewhat filling the shoes of Dr. Sharon Stroud, although I know that's really impossible. I am honored and privileged to be here today to talk to you about the principles of successful living, amongst things, to talk to you about love, of life, and so grateful to be of service to this beautiful community. You know, Dr. Sharon asked me to talk about the power of giving, and I thought, how perfect to talk about the power of giving, being that this is the month of Thanksgiving. Do you think that she had any idea about that? No, I don't think so. So today, we're going to be discussing two things with the power of giving. We're going to be discussing the power of giving for and the power of giving thanks. Commonly referred to as for, giving, and thanksgiving. We'll be talking about those two things today. Does that sound good to you? Perfect. Okay. These givings, which you find are equally, if not more important for the person that actually is giving them than the person that actually is receiving them. Of course, the whole law of circulation, in order to receive, we must give. And so we're going to be learning today about those two fors. The two givings. Giving for and giving thanks. The first is giving for. One of the most precious gifts that you can give yourself is to truly forgive yourself. I firmly believe that the root of all our unhappiness in life comes from us not forgiving ourselves. We often think that we have to forgive others in order to be free. We have to forgive others in order to be free. We have that backwards. In order to truly be free, we must forgive ourselves first. You might have heard the quote, not forgiving someone is like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. Like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. I was in San Diego last week. I had the privilege of speaking to the National Management Association about the psychology of management. I had the privilege of talking to business people about the principles of successful living without them knowing it. So I was there, and I happened to go to a party the night before. And there was a gentleman who actually threw the party. I didn't know who he was, but he was talking about a situation that changed his life profoundly. He was talking about, he was doing some activity, his ring got caught on a fence or something, and when he fell, it actually severed his finger. Oh. Okay. But what I found fascinating about the story was it was filled with such power because that's the day that changed his life. And I was so curious sitting in the back and listening to this gentleman. And I heard him say that was the catalyst for him ending a relationship that was not working with his partner. And I was thrilled. I thought, good for him. Everything happens in our lives for us. And that's what we'll be talking about today. Everything in our life happens for us. And it's up to us to identify what is that thing that's happening for us. So I was really, really, really thrilled to hear that this gentleman was turning that situation around. But then, I heard him say, in my low moments, I called my father for support. The story then changed. He was talking about his father, and something within me, my stomach started getting a little bit nauseous. Because when he was talking about his father, he said, I was looking for support in this time of need, and he did not give it to me. That jerk. I can't believe he did not give it to me. My first thought was, I wonder if he ever got it, first of all. But more importantly than that is, he said, I have not talked to him for 10 years, and that's the best thing I've ever done. Meanwhile, the energy that was coming out of this man, my heart broke. Because the anger that was coming out of him, the pain that was coming out of him was unbearable to take. My heart went out to him. My thought was, this gentleman is caught in what Don Miguel Ruiz says in his book, hell. You know, I don't know what's going to happen when we transition to another world. Hell or heaven, I don't know. But I do know that we have on this planet the consciousness of hell and the consciousness of heaven. When that gentleman talked about his father, who he hasn't seen for 10 years, he was right back in the middle of that hell. That anxiety, that anger, that pain. And he is the one that's hurting. we don't know the story about the father, right? But he's the one that's hurting. He's the one that's in pain. By not forgiving his father for doing something that maybe he wasn't capable of doing, we don't know what the story with his father was. But we have to understand that we must forgive other people, because if we're not, we're carrying that energy around. And the minute that person comes into our awareness, not even physically, but in consciousness, we go to that place of hell within us. And we are the ones that suffer. We are the ones that suffer.